So speaking of the esports scene, Riot has announced the Ignition series, which is basically a soft launch to what will be an official. This is an official ecosystem, but it is a budding one. This is sort of almost like a preamble to the major esports offering from Riot that we will or are anticipating in the future. So in terms of the June schedule, we have on June 19th to 21st, we have a G2 Esports VALORANT Invitational, which is presented by Red Bull, which is basically going to be a mixture in a way similar to Twitch Rivals, like having some streamers, having some players, but it is going to be fun. I get it's going to be fun. I mean, look. I think we all prefer seeing a team of pros compete against a team of pros, but to be fair, with G2 involved, it'll be entertaining at least a little while.
I like some of the players in this event too. Obviously Mixwell's noted, but like Existence and Draken, also two former top Counter-Strike guys in Europe as well. Once upon a time, on good teams like Fnatic and G2 actually. In the case of Existence, so yeah, like this is exciting. I think that I think many people in Valorant I feel probably aren't as familiar with European Counter-Strike, especially in the sort of tier 3, tier 4, where these types of people have been playing more or less lately. But yeah, there are some good names in here. I'm excited. I actually like that the Ezok team because I talked about Lothar previously about Twitch Rivals. Like, he's a really fun guy to watch. He was a top Hearthstone guy. Then he got into Gwent, obviously, again, but never took off, and he was really good at that as well. And then, like, been watching him play Valorant, and he's actually not bad. More streamer than he is, and he also works at G2, but more streamer than he is a pro player. But there are some players in here that are fun to watch, in my opinion.
Why are you not so excited, Tyler?
It's kind of, I think it's influencer in fatigue, right? I feel like we've watched a lot of these players play in the very same tournament over and over again. I mean, I talked to Mixwell today, and Mixwell, I asked him, the Prodigy, when you talk about like ELO rankings and who's the best Valorant team in Europe and who's the most talented, people say Prodigy. They're the pride of Europe, along with Fish123. And Mixwell was just like, oh yeah. Like we have a what's up. We're in a group chat together, and then Jerome, our manager, basically says, "Okay, who wants to play today in a tournament?" And then 5 of us say, "I guess we'll play." And then they'll jump online, play the games, finish, go home, and then just not think of it again. They never practice. Like that. The scene of like it's so different than the NA scene that are practicing daily. Like Hiko's even practicing, and he doesn't even have a fulfilled signed 5-stack yet, right? And Mixwell wants that. Mixwell wants a 5, Mixwell wants Fnatic and Excel and Mad Lions and all these bigger orgs to sign teams so he can have scrim partners and have actual practice. And right now it feels like we're just kind of meandering about, being like, okay, we're going to have another influencer tournament, yay! And then it feels a little bit a letdown, right? When we're talking about the T1 tournament, right, where we'll have Sentinels and TSM and Gen G and Cloud9, and there will be a Ninja team, but Ninja's team has practiced together, which is a far difference than a lot of the European teams that have been putting together, especially in this tournament, which is all thrown together. So I just want more competition because I want to know the strength. It's easier to put a power level on NA right now because there's confirmed teams that have been playing together, scrimming together, playing in these weekend tournaments. Where in Europe, it's a lot of rotating pieces. We're still trying to figure out what's going on. The second best team in the region is literally just a pub team that's just having fun. So Europe really needs some structure, and I think G2 will be the first domino for many more to fall.
So let's end on this. Just the structure of the Ignition series in general, and how organizations or tournament organizers will work in tandem with Riot to put on these events is a very interesting process for both Riot and for Org. What do we make of this arrangement and the Ignition series and how it's laid out, Jacob?
I mean, I feel like the writing was kind of on the wall, right? Like, it's like, you can be a part of our ecosystem is open, but we pick who's here. And I think that's it's a little bit more selective than like Valve's ecosystem with Counter-Strike, But in a way, it's not, right? Like, it's just like Valve goes through a rigorous selection process to host a major and now to host an RMR event, right, for Counter-Strike. And, like, it feels like Riot's just doing that for every event rather than just the big ones, right? So, like, I'm not surprised. Like, I would expect nothing less from Riot. They have a huge reputation at stake in this game. So, like, obviously they want to be really selective and not just give a license to, random org number 3 with some money over there in the corner, right? Like, they actually really want to take this very seriously. So I'm not surprised at all at the fact that they're being selective in who they partner with. And the first 2 people hosting Ignition Series events are Riot partners in other things. And, like, T1 seems like a shoe-in for LCK franchising, right? Like, and they've been around the scene for a really long time. G2 is a partner in the LEC. These are people that Riot are incredibly familiar with. They're not just licensing to a random group. I am more excited to see when they start dealing with people in Counter-Strike who are not involved in League of Legends, which seems like it will come. But, that's sort of what I'm waiting for.
Looking at the current scene as it is and the upcoming tournaments, I like the structure. I like the system. And I do believe, I've been watching a lot of tournaments. I've been watching a lot of Valorant. I don't know if there's anyone in the world who's watched more Valorant tournaments than I have. I've been watching random $500 cups on Twitch just so I can see if there's a good amateur player. And it does seem like, I feel like the limit for to not go through Riot seems to be 10K. Because there's a lot of 10K tournaments. If you look at the current like prize pools, a lot of tournaments, it does seem like 10K is kind of the limit. And then after 10K of a prize pool, you kind of probably have to go through Riot. Because I teased big tournaments were coming like a month ago, right before the full release date, before the end of the beta. And there were big talks of like big money Valorant tournaments. And they weren't approved by Riot. Like, Riot, I believe, I have to guess, was like, we have our Ignition tournament coming up. We want to save these big events for then. We don't want to have it in beta. So they've been pushed off until if they can strike a deal, like a Flashpoint or ESL for, the Ignition series, which I think is good and dandy. I think it's more selective than they probably on the surface are showing. Like, oh, we'll accept everyone. Everyone can have a big tournament. They're selective and they want to have it spread out, right? Where they don't want to have Flashpoint and T1 both having a tournament going on at the same time. So I feel like we'll see less like month-long tournaments because they don't want to, bunch up the schedules where it's like, oh, the T1 Ignition series is on July 4th and, Flashpoint's running a 2-month tournament, so it's kind of, oh, who knows, we can't really figure it out. So I think we'll see a lot of weekend Ignition tournaments, not a lot of more seasonal formats. And for the beginning of it, I'm going to say it seems intriguing. I want to see more regions and more tournaments as we go along. If they become more serious and a few show matches thrown into those serious tournaments, I think it'll be a good boost to Valorant. Because I think right now Valorant, if you look at the Twitch stats, has an average of around 80 to 60,000 viewers, which is amazing. On a monthly total, the only games that beat that are Fortnite, Warzone, League of Legends, and Counter-Strike.
And Crucible.
So, Crucible's at 20 people right now. Maybe even less than 20. It has 5 people playing the game right now in the servers. But
Can I just interject and just say one of Tyler's favorite games, when we're offline before we start a show, one of Tyler's favorite games is guess how many people are watching Crucible on Twitch right now?
Yeah, it's a great game.
How many people are playing on Steam?
There's 200. There's currently 210 people playing Crucible on Steam, fellas, and it keeps going down.
Good job, Amazon.
But going back to Valorant, a game that does have 60,000, 80,000 viewers. It's not going to be the Warzone or the League of Legends or the Fortnite that maybe some people were hoping for. But I want it to be that game where it has that, 40 to 60 average 1,000 fans at any given time, and it boosts up like Dota or Counter-Strike during a big event. And I do think with Riot partnering with these teams where they're going to be able to use the Riot Games channel. And I think that's one of the reasons I don't think people realize this, why there's now Twitch LCS, Twitch LEC. They want the Riot Games channel open so that these Valorant tournaments can take that channel and use it for their Ignition series. So you're going to see, it's either going to host the G2 channel or the T1 channel, or it will just be officially on the Riot Games channel of these tournaments, which I think is going to be a great boost to get new fans to check out Valorant for the first time. So I think that's a little detail that people aren't figuring out, is that these teams, getting selected for these tournaments are going to be able to use all the Riot assets, which is huge for them, especially when Riot Games has one of the biggest channels on Twitch.
Yep.
I don't disagree. I think that's going to be a huge signal boost that because that channel has so many followers. It's one of the most followed on all of Twitch. So hosting anything on there is going to be a huge deal.
By the